So, welcome Alok sir and Gopal bhai for today valuable your time. So, friend, today with us Alok sir from Bank of India Mutual Fund. One second. एक second. Sharing. तो सर ये दिखता है ना स्लाइड?
हाँ, बराबर बराबर।
So, Alok sir is a Chief Investment Officer in Bank of India Mutual Fund with 24-year experience CFA. तो सर अभी जो मार्केट गिरा है,
हाँ जी।
स्मॉल कैप के बारे में बहुत लोग बातचीत कर रहे हैं। तो आपका बैंक ऑफ इंडिया स्मॉल कैप फंड हमने एनएफओ से बेचा था।
हाँ जी। हाँ जी।
तो हमने कुछ एक स्लाइड बनाया है कि पहले 15 महीने में एसआईपी का रिटर्न था 1.5 लाख का वैल्यू 1.18 लाख मतलब डाउन था। उसके बाद 12 मंथ के बाद आपका सीएजीआर 48% हो गया। उसके बाद जनवरी 25 तक आपके फंड ने 34% एसआईपी में सीएजीआर रिटर्न दिया था। और अभी करेक्शन के बाद एज ऑन टुडे आफ्टर 75 मंथ 7.5 लाख का वैल्यू है 15 लाख विथ 24% सीएजीआर। और ये लमसम का जो हमने डेटा बनाया है, आज लमसम में भी एक साल का 0.4% नेगेटिव है, लेकिन 2 साल का, 3 साल का, 5 साल का 26% है। और सिंस इंसेप्शन 24% है। मतलब 5 साल पहले किसी ने पैसा डाला तो कोविड में डाउन हुआ, फिर बढ़ा, फिर डाउन हुआ, फिर बढ़ा, और आज दोबारा फिर डाउन है। तो सर फंड का परफॉर्मेंस अच्छा है लॉन्ग टर्म, नॉर्मली स्मॉल कैप फंड फॉर मोर देन 5 इयर्स। तो अभी सर जो पैनिक हुआ है बहुत सारे इन्वेस्टर का, हमारे स्मॉल कैप मिड कैप में एसआईपी चल रहा है। तो
हाँ
सर
जी।
हम ये जानना चाहते हैं आपका व्यू क्या है और लॉन्ग टर्म में पैसा कैसे बनेगा स्मॉल कैप कैटेगरी में।
देखिए, अच्छा सवाल है आपका, क्योंकि आज की डेट में ये कहना कि मिड एंड स्मॉल कैप ओवर वैल्यूड है काफी फैशन हो गया। और यू नो क्वाइट इजी टू से कि बस आप लार्ज कैप ले लो, राइट।
यस।
बट मेरा फंडामेंटल सवाल ये है कि हम ये बात कर क्यों रहे हैं। हम ये बात इसलिए कर रहे हैं क्योंकि हम ग्लोबली रिसेशनरी एनवायरनमेंट को फोर्सी कर रहे हैं, राइट। अगर हम ग्लोबली रिसेशनरी एनवायरनमेंट को फोर्सी करते हैं क्योंकि टैरिफ की बातचीत हो रही है, तो मतलब यूएस में से कि बॉस मैं 25% टैरिफ लगा देता हूँ, दूसरे पे लगा देता हूँ। उस केस में व्हाट इज हैपनिंग इज दैट अल्टीमेटली बोथ जिसके ऊपर टैरिफ लगा है और जो टैरिफ लगा रहा है, दोनों आर नेगेटिवली impacted till they reach the resolution, right? Now, in that case, the earnings will get cut everywhere, right? Now, if you look at for last 2 days, that is why the global markets are selling off, because you are talking of a recessionary environment getting emerging. Now, if the recessionary environment get emerge, then we are talking of a risk off environment, which means that you should not be owning any risk asset in the near term, right? So whether it is large cap, small cap, because they are all, any equity is a risk asset, right? So you should not be owning any risk asset. But these are the short end noises which ultimately get settled, right? Because fine, he may say that okay, I'll impose 20% on A, 20% on B, but then ultimately, for example, I give you an example, like just because they have imposed tariff does not mean the material get available, right? Like India exports roughly 40% of the US pharma comes from India, right? Now you may impose duty, but that does not mean the next source is available, because somebody has to put up the plant, somebody has to approve it, and all those kind of a thing. So ultimately we will revert back to the mean growth. That is what the expectations are. But since the markets react and reacts very heavily, uh, in terms of the near term, and the growth multiple is, that is what is getting impacted, and the growth multiple is highest in mid and small cap, and that's why we are seeing what we are seeing. But I think from the fundamental point of view, right, I think we should look at, as an investor, I think we should look at is it as an opportunity, because in the near term, while there is a noise, the businesses are not impacted right now, right?
Yes, that is
Because
that is a
agar,
very important.
yes, because agar aap dekhoge to there is lot of noise about earnings cut, right? But if you look at quarter 2 of this financial year and the quarter 3 which we have just concluded, sequentially and YOY दोनों में growth है, right? Problem किधर है? People are saying that it is below expectation. So I was expecting more, it is below expectation. But then you have corrected the price also. So you reduce your expectation and you have reduced the price also, right? So it should normalize. But then the second step is coming is that the people are cutting the earnings for 26 also, 27 also, 28 also. People are cutting the forward earnings, where I think is a mismatch because those are imaginations. Those are not based on any scientific way of doing things, right? So because somebody thinks that 15% कट होना चाहिए तो उसने 15% काट दिया, किसी को लगता है 20% कट होना चाहिए तो 20% कट, right? So that aggressiveness of cutting expectation, I think, will help market to look better as we go back on the growth path,
Okay.
right? From the Indian context, if you look at so far, we had a Q2 was a bad. We had 5.4% growth. I think we will see a better growth rate coming now, and especially now with the government and RBI and everyone is in action. We should be better. In terms of the tariffs, also, I think we could be a country which probably be able to take advantage of it, though the details have to emerge because abhi tak directly there is nothing which has come to us, and there is lot of backdoor channel discussions which are happening in terms of avoided it. So we may be a beneficiary of it. We have to see, but nevertheless, if you look at, we are not that export heavy industry, right? The large portion of our export, say for example, software services, right? Now, in that there is nothing like tariff, right? And
Okay.
you can't replace pharma even if you impose tariff. What is the next source? So basically, we are relatively more immune. So my belief is that we should see growth coming back, and the moment growth coming back, I think mid and small cap, which have seen the phase, and this is not the first time. If you look at in the January to March of 25, 22, also we saw a similar thing where inflation was the reason. This time the tariff is the reason, but subsequent we have seen reversal. So I think you have to be a bit patient with these this asset class, and invariably it offers a great value.
So normally, sir, जब भी correction आता है, people are talking on small and mid cap. Only talking on small and mid cap, not a large cap.
Yes,
As on
yes,
today, large cap also down, mid cap down, small cap down,
yes,
each category down.
correct. Sir, वो basically, see, there is something called a myopia, or basically if you have a stock, and that happens with everyone,
Yes.
right? You may have 50 stocks in your portfolio, right? Then there is one stock which is, say, 1% of your portfolio, and that stock is down 80%, right?
Okay.
You are concentrating only on that, and you forget that balance 99% may also be 30% down,
Okay.
right? Even if that 1% was not there in your portfolio, you may have saved 1%, right? Because that has not corrected. But the balance 99%, which could be down 30%, has done the more damage, but you are more concentrated on that. So basically, this is the focus which shifts, and people, everyone becomes a bit myopic about looking at those things. So I think that's the case. But having said that, you know it has always, it's we always say that's a higher risk class, right? Why we say? Because of this volatility only, there is no other reason. So, and then as long as it is compensating you with the commensurating return in the medium to long term, I think it's a risk worth taking, I would put it this way.
एक सेकंड सर. Yes, sir. Carry on.
So I was saying that if the risk which you are taking is delivering you a commensurating return on medium to long term basis, I think that's a risk worth taking. Also, if you look at, either I had a wisdom to sell it in September, October, right? But if I have not sold it for any reason, now the valuations have become very, very attractive, right? Even the small cap, if I look at for FY26 basis, it is available at 17 times. Mid cap, despite the supply thing, I think it's available at 21 times, so which was at the peak trading at 45 times. Small cap was trading at 32, 33 times, right? And this now I'm talking of 1 year forward only, that the numbers have come down. So I think they have become attractive. Uh, and the anxiety takes little time to settle down because markets always overstretch. Like we overstretch ourselves on the bull side, on the upside, we always overstretch on the uh, downside also, right? And typically people now, because of the knowledge available and internet data available and all, people do look at many technical indicators and all those kind of things, and then build that, this base has broken, that average has broken. But one should remember that, when these kind of large moves happen, right, typically those indicators don't have meaning. You have to look up beyond kind of a thing. You have to look at, will I make money in next 2 years, or will I make money in 3 years? I think that is how one should approach. And when once you start approaching, right, uh, with the reasonable growth rate and growth, like there's one stock in our portfolio which has corrected 50% from top. And if I look at, it is a 28, 30% ROE business available at 28 times, right? Now, it's a fantastic business to own, right? Uh, and if that continues to give me an ROE of 28, 29%, then typically the stock price should also give me that kind of CAGR in medium to long term, right? So I think that this gives an opportunity to clean out your portfolios also and buy good businesses. And that is how it should be looked at. We may see some more volatility because this volatility is coming from the fear of recession, and the fear of recession will only go when the incremental data about the economic growth is better. It is not about A business versus B business. We are not. That is why all and sundry is falling, right? IT, which is considered to be the best savior, is also down, right? So now today we have a data. I think, let's see what our GDP number comes, right? So as the incremental data comes in next 1 or 2 months, I think that will give confidence to people. And also this entire uh, Trump tariff things and all that, I think that should also get settled in couple of months. And I think from there on, we should look at which business makes sense, which does not make sense, and accordingly adjust the portfolio. But continue to remain positive on small and mid cap. I give you one last data, and which is basically, see, even if we grow at 6.5%, which is a lower than what we have been growing, at 6.5%, we will be adding some $250 billion to global GDP, right? And the global context, it is roughly 10% of the growth which we are talking of. So it is a large number. Now, if it is a large number, then it has to be contributed by large number of things working for that, right? And if the large number of things are working to get $250 billion addition, that means the market should also recognize and remain broad based. So as long as the market remains broad based, your mid and small cap will continue to do well, and that is coming from economy remaining broad based. So I think that's how I look at from the medium term perspective, and that's how we are approaching.
तो सर अभी हम स्मॉल कैप में स्टैगरवे में यहाँ से इन्वेस्टमेंट स्टार्ट कर सकते हैं, क्योंकि बैंक ऑफ इंडिया स्मॉल कैप का भी एनएवी पे
बिल्कुल
38 आ चुका है।
बिल्कुल
तो अभी
बिल्कुल
यहाँ से डाल सकते हैं, जिसका व्यू मोर देन
बिल्कुल
20 साल है वो पैसा बना सकता है।
बिल्कुल। आई थिंक 3 साल 4 साल वालों को तो कोई भी दिक्कत नहीं होनी चाहिए, राइट? बिकॉज एज आई सेड कि आफ्टर this correction, if I look at FY 26P, then the small cap 250 index is available at 18 times, right? So, which is a good level to buy because अगर आप देखो तो हमारी BSC 500 का जो ROE है, राइट, वो कुछ 14-15% है, राइट? तो विच मीन्स और ROE get converged with the prices on a long period of time. So to see 18-20% in the same context, to see a 18-20% CAGR in small cap from here, not at all impossible task.
सर वैसे ही जब एनएफओ से अभी तक का रिटर्न देखे सर, तो आज भी 6 साल में 4 गुना पैसा बढ़ा है स्मॉल कैप कैटेगरी।
Correct, correct,
तो
correct,
लार्ज कैप को बहुत मार्जिन से आउट परफॉर्म किया है। तो सर
correct.
सपोज पैसा आप, यू आर ऑल्सो मैनेजिंग बीओआई फ्लेक्सी कैप फंड, सो
Yes,
अगर मेरा 5 साल का व्यू है, विच फंड गिव
yes.
बेटर, स्मॉल कैप या फ्लेक्सी कैप?
सी, अगर आपका 5 साल का एकदम पक्का व्यू है ना, तो स्मॉल कैप विल गिव यू मोर मनी।
सर बस यही सर इन्वेस्टर समझ नहीं पाते हैं, क्योंकि जब करेक्शन आता है ना तो इसमें अपॉर्चुनिटी बढ़ जाती है कंपेयर टू लार्ज कैप, लेकिन ऐसे टाइम पे इन्वेस्टर टेक रॉन्ग कॉल।
Yes, see, that is where the hindsight wisdom. People come now with that. कोविड के टाइम पे ले लेना था, ये उधर ले लेना था। सो एज आई सेड कि अगर आप देखो तो सेम अमाउंट ऑफ करेक्शन हैपेंड, रफली 25-26%
यस,
करेक्शन हैपेंड इन जनवरी टू मार्च ऑफ 22,
यस,
right? And then for the next 6 months, index just recouped the loss, right? So entire 22 index, small cap index, didn't give any return, right? And then 23, it generated enough return to not only improve the average, but the absolute number being decently high, right? So I see that kind of opportunity here. Obviously, it is very difficult for people to hold on, and I think that's where the biggest risk is, that people throw the towel at the wrong time, right? It happens in the trending market also. The FOMO lets you to invest at the top, and the fear let you exit at the bottom, right? And that is what you should not be doing. I think a right allocation and staying put, I think that is where you know it should work. But I agree with you that this in these times is very difficult to uh, look it from that advice point of view.
क्योंकि सर होता क्या है सर, हमने हमेशा क्लाइंट को जो लॉन्ग टर्म का पैसा है उसी को हमने एग्रेसिव कॉल में पैसा डाला हुआ है। आज भी
Correct,
देखो तो 3 या 5 साल का रिटर्न एक्स्ट्रॉर्डिनरी है स्मॉल कैप कैटेगरी
correct, correct,
कंपेयर टू लार्ज कैप। और ये सेम सिचुएशन जैसे कोविड में आई थी, अगर आपने जनवरी 2020 में पैसा डाला है तो आपका फेब्रुआरी एंड तक
correct,
मार्च तक इतना ही करेक्शन था जितना आज करेक्शन है।
correct, correct, correct.
नॉर्मली क्या होता है, जब इन्वेस्टर को कोविड में ऐसा लगता है कि मेरा अपॉर्चुनिटी मिस हो गया, लेकिन अभी सेम अपॉर्चुनिटी आया है, तो नाउ इन्वेस्टर थिंक दिस इज अ डिफरेंट करेक्शन।
नहीं, वो होता है ना सर, ऊपर से अगर आप देखो, फॉर एग्जांपल इन माय फंड केस आल्सो, समबडी कैन आर्ग्यू फॉर टू यू और मी कि साहब उधर निकलवा देते थे, फिर अपन डाल लेते थे, राइट? या पीपल आर्ग्यू विद मी कि भाई आपको रिस्क कम कर लेना था पोर्टफोलियो में, तो हमारे इतने पैसे बच जाते थे, राइट? अभी frankly speaking, as a fund manager, I also work on probabilities, right? And sometimes those probabilities don't play as
यस,
what you think. But I think that's not that a bigger problem. Staying away is a bigger problem, right? Because while somebody who may have given money, say in my fund 3 months back, he may be sitting on a mark to market loss. As you yourself said, that people who gave me money in NFO, right? They were sitting at 20-25%. I remember the NAV went to I think 7 rupees or something. That was the low, right? And then that entire thing was recouped.
Yes. और
So
सर सबसे
all
बड़ी
the
बात
people,
सर, when Bank of India small cap fund launch at that time, lots of five-star rated fund. As on today, you beat all five-star rated fund. That is a
correct,
very good.
correct. Correct. Thank you for that. So I think the bigger problem is not that I have corrected. I think the biggest challenge for me is that how I rebuild the portfolio, because or I leave it like that. There are people who choose to just leave it. I think the way I look at it, that was not everything which has fallen will go up with the same velocity up, right? So
Yes.
my challenge is to find out those names which will not go up with the same velocity. So
Yes.
if I am able to just weed out those from my portfolio, I think the markets will take care of uh, itself, right? I don't have to do much magic around it. So I think, let's see. I think we are slowly entering to a phase where the selling exhaustion should happen.
I think this is a
Because
near to bottom. यहाँ से 2-4% और हो
हाँ,
सकते हैं.
मतलब देखिए, जैसे जो टैरिफ को रिलेटेड जो कल जो टैरिफ के बारे में शोर हुआ, तो वो आज बाजार ने डिस्काउंट कर लिया ग्लोबली, मोर और लेस, राइट?
Yes.
हो सकता है कल को फिर थोड़ा बहुत हो मंडे को, बट आई थिंक मोर और लेस, बिकॉज जितने भी ग्लोबल इवेंट्स होते हैं ना, मार्केट्स उसमें ना बहुत ज्यादा टाइम वेस्ट नहीं करता.
Yes.
They just get them discounted in few trading sessions typically,
Yes.
right? So aaj और उसके बाद, and I think then it will be driven by our domestic data. I'm hoping that this number for this quarter, the Q3, should be good, because anyways Q4 is going to be bumper number, right? With all what government is trying to do and cum factor and all that, the Q4 number is going to be far better, right? And by that time, I think hopefully this entire tariff thing also should get settled either way. So even if we have a 25% tariff, say for example, then the world does not stop. Now businesses find ways to navigate. So I think with this, I think we are somewhere there, राइट. अभी वो वेदर 14,000 इज द लेवल फॉर स्मॉल कैप 250 इंडेक्स, और 13,000 इज द लेवल, राइट, और फॉर निफ्टी 22,000 और 21, दोज आर द थिंग्स व्हिच आर
लेकिन सर यहाँ से पैसा डालने का समय आ गया है अभी.
बिल्कुल, बिल्कुल.
सर
आई डोंट
हमारे हमारे
थिंक.
इन्वेस्टर के लिए, जो स्मॉल कैप मिड कैप में जिनके एसआईपी है, उनके लिए एक शॉर्ट मैसेज.
सर देखिए, सबसे पहला तो आपकी जो एसआईपी है, जो चल रही है, प्लीज उसको चलते रहने दीजिए,
सर
बिकॉज
अपने को
एसआईपी का,
6 महीने का डबल एसआईपी कर दो.
हाँ, तो बिकॉज एसआईपी का कॉन्सेप्ट ही ये है कि आपको नीचे और ऊपर दोनों तरफ पार्टिसिपेट करके एवरेज कॉस्ट आपकी अच्छी आएगी. तो अगर आप नीचे बंद कर दोगे तो आपकी एवरेज कभी भी अच्छी नहीं आएगी,
यस.
राइट? सेकंड इज आपका जो फैक्टर है कि जो भी स्पेयर मनी है, राइट, तो यू शुड इंक्रीज योर दिस थिंग, राइट? जो भी आपका एडिशनल पैसा है, आई थिंक यू शुड इंक्रीज डिपेंडिंग ऑन योर फाइनेंशियल कमिटमेंट्स एंड ऑल, बट यू शुड सर्टेनली इंक्रीज. और मैं आपको एक एग्जांपल देता हूं, जो हमारा एग्रेसिव हाइब्रिड है, राइट? स्मॉल कैप तो फिर भी 2018 से है, बट अगर मैं इसको देखूंगा तो वो 2015-16 से है, राइट? एंड इट डज नॉट बाय एनी लार्ज कैप, राइट? आप उसको देखो, उसके उतार चढ़ाव देखो, एनी 3 ईयर रोलिंग रिटर्न, इट गिव्स अ फैंटास्टिक,
यस.
राइट? सो ऐसा नहीं है कि उसमें उसने 2018 का फाइनेंशियल अपना एलएफएस क्राइसिस भी देखा है,
इसका भी बेटर है.
उसने 20 का भी देखा, और उसके बाद जब बाजार एकदम नैरो हो गया था 19 में, सिर्फ 4-5 लार्ज कैप स्टॉक अच्छा कर रहे थे और कुछ नहीं कर रहा था, वो देखा है. 20 देखा है, फिर अपना 22 का भी देखा है. तो आई थिंक इफ यू लुक एट, if you own right businesses, because ultimately देखिए, पैसा सबसे ज्यादा, which is important for the investor, is सबसे ज्यादा पैसा कब बनता है? जब एक छोटी चीज बड़ी बनती है और आप उस जर्नी का पार्ट होते हो, right? Because otherwise it's a normalized return, right? For Reliance to become double from here is a very very tall call, because वो अभी खुद इतना बड़ा हो गया, but right, so
बहुत
that is
मुश्किल है.
what you, हाँ मतलब it needs lot to for Reliance to increase its sales from here. So I think that factor is in favor of small cap, and especially the way India is placed. I think mid and small cap, more more so the small cap, because small cap में variety भी बहुत ज्यादा है. और अब small cap उतने छोटे बचे नहीं है, because एक टाइम था बिल्कुल, today the largest small cap is like 30,000 crores. So
Yes.
it's not that small company.
Yes, yes. So thank you very much for your valuable time for our investor and viewers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ji. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Gopal bhai.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Thank you, sir.